Welcome to the Imbalance Podcast, a place where we navigate the struggles and perks of single mom life, the ebbs and flows of my work in the beauty industry, quality relationships, working through personal traumas, and finding our higher purpose. Sounds like a lot of struggling? Well, it is. So grab a drink and let's try and balance it together, because who said we have to navigate through this chaos alone? Welcome to the Imbalance Podcast, to your weekly dose of mom brain, unfinished tasks, work fatigue, and simply trying to balance the imbalancable with me, Kat, your host. So it is finally springtime. Yay, congratulations. We have all made it through the winter. I feel like for whatever reason, every year is just worse. And it's not even because like the weather's worse. It's almost like I can't handle the cold anymore. I never enjoy the cold, but I'm pretty sure like my skin has gotten thinner or something, because at this point, I don't want nothing to do with, I just don't want nothing to do with the cold. Like, you know how people go on vacation and they go like skiing or they go to like really cool places? Like, I have no desire to do that. Like, maybe one day in my life I will, because I know there are some places that are like worth seeing and that are beautiful. But anytime I want to go on a vacation, it has to involve like the beach or hot weather. I don't want to be cold. Like, give me away, please. But my kids actually are on vacation away from me. They're not in like a vacation place. They're just visiting family. So it's a staycation for me, kind of. And I get very like, oh, nice. Like, I'll get some peace and quiet. Like, I'll get some free time to do what I need to do and things like that. But it's also like I feel so guilty for feeling like, ooh, I get a break. Like, for feeling like, yay, I don't have to listen to children wrestling and screaming and fighting each other all day. Like, I feel guilty that I feel happy that I don't have to do that. And I'm just here to say, I don't know, maybe I'm mentally ill, but I've been evaluated and and I seem to be fine. So anyways, I only say that because I want the parents who do have the opportunity to kind of have like free time without their kids sometimes, whether it just be like them in school during the day and maybe you're off on those days, or maybe you're a single parent and you co-parent, so there's times when they're with their other parent, or they're with family, or whatever the case may be. It is okay, number one, to feel like relieved that they're not in your hands for that time. Okay, number one. Number two, it also is very normal to feel guilty. And although we don't want to feel the guilt, we want the guilt to completely go away, right? We don't want to feel that. But it's a normal feeling. It just means that you're human. It means that you're human because you obviously love your children to death, but having a break from them is also a relief, is also great. And in my kids' case, I'm sure they happy to have a break from me. To be honest, I think of it like that. Like, I think like, oh, because I'm a little anxious too. So I'm like, oh, let me make sure I text them like at this time and these times to make sure. And like this morning, I forgot to text them because I went to work this morning, and I was just like, they're not awake yet. Like, I don't want to, because they're an hour behind me anyway. I was like, I'll just text them, when they get up. And then it was like 1 p.m. and I was like, oh my God, like I didn't text them. Like, I hope they don't hate me or whatever. But they're not worried about me. They are not worried about me. They're having a good time. So your kids are having a good time. They're fine. I'm sure your kids are in someone's hands that you trust if they are away from you. And it's just the thing of like it's normal to feel guilty. So don't not do it just because you're going to feel guilty. It's a normal feeling. And you just have to make sure you have your thoughts in place of when you do feel like that, to kind of give yourself a pep talk. Like, they're fine. It's okay. You are only human. You have A, B, and C things to do. This is a great opportunity to do that because, why would you waste that opportunity, So shout out to all the parents out there, having a good time while their kids are away. So today I want to get into our topic of basically how to survive in the beauty industry / things that I kind of wish I knew prior to. And although I'm speaking about the beauty industry because that's what's true to me, this can also apply to like other businesses as well, or just being an entrepreneur at that, because we all know how we can all relate, no matter what type of business that we're doing. It's a business that we created and we own or we are in charge of. So our goal is always the same, and that is to bring in the people. If that's how we're making our money, is through people. The goal is to bring in the people, bring in the profit. So hopefully this resonates with some of you guys. So number one, I would say, and this is going to sound mad stupid, okay? But just bear with me. As a hairstylist or an esthetician or a makeup artist or, a nail tech, whatever it is that you're doing on your own, think of yourself as a business, okay? Not just a person, not just, I'm just a hairstylist. I'm just this. I'm just one person. You are the face of your brand. That is what's going to stand out amongst you just being just any person to go to. This line of work and being so young when I started, I didn't treat this like a business, okay? I was like, let me just try to get as many clients in as possible with like no type of strategy. So I just didn't put much thought into how am I going to get people into the door. It was, at the time I was working at a commission-based salon where it was like you sit around and wait for people to walk in. And that was a time when Instagram, like, it was not like popping, but it had recently came out within the past like couple of years. So I remember I did start like my hair page at that time. But at that time, it was kind of hard to like advertise on Instagram. People were just going on there just to post cute pictures. I kind of miss those days, honestly. But, I was more so thinking about like how much money I'm going to make this paycheck. Like that's all that mattered, right? And then getting anybody in the door, like doing all types of services, shit that I didn't even want to do, doing shit for cheap because I'm like, oh, some money is better than no money. And, granted, at the beginning of some things, like you may just have to do that, right? I'm not saying it's wrong that I did that, but you don't want to get stuck in that pattern for too long because you're kind of selling yourself out. You don't want to end up staying at a place where people just come to you because you're convenient for them. Convenient as far as prices or just the location or you're available before another person's available, just things like that. It's you can take advantage of that while you're trying to build up, but you want people to want you, right? So this is something that, like, if you're just new to the beauty industry, this is something you may not be able to do something with right now, but having that in the back of your mind, like writing that in your notes where your goals section is, so that a year from now, you do not want to be there still. That's not where you still want to be. On top of that, you want to organize your finances, keeping track of the services that you do, the product sales that you make, and then the product and supply cost. All right. This is very like basic. And this is something you're going to have to do your entire career as an entrepreneur, business owner, whatever. and you want to, subtract the product supply cost from your services to see what your actual profit is. Like, don't even get stuck on the number that you see like coming into your account. That is not your pay. That is like part of it is your business expense. So you more so want to think to yourself like, okay, what type of services can I do with the least amount of like supply or least amount of cost so that your profit is higher, obviously, but also getting yourself used to looking at your profit as that's how much you actually made off of your business. Another thing obviously is opening a business account. Just depending on how you step into this work, you can get a business account, you can get your LLC and all that stuff, but I honestly would first try to build up your clients first. Build up your skills. All right. Because here's the thing, out of beauty school, your skills are not going to be like where you want them to be. You only have to be skilled enough to pass the test. And then after that, you keep working and keep practicing until you get better and better, until you gain more knowledge and you gain more experience. And then there you will build your clientele. And then that's when you can probably open your business account at that point, an LLC. And don't even quote me on the LLC, because at this point, I think people are telling us to like get something else that's like it's changed all of a sudden. You know how things just be changing. Once people catch word on certain things, and now like everybody owns a business at this point. So, basically look at all the credentials in your state of what you need for your business. But a business account for sure at some point, to be able to separate your personal stuff with your business is vital. Number 2, straight out of Cosmo School, you may not know exactly what you're good at. So think about, out of all the services you're providing, which one brings you the most joy or passion? And then also, to be financially savvy, which one brings you the most joy without doing the most work? That's the one that, like, in the long run, that will help you out for sure. And again, at first, you might have to try a little bit of everything to see if that's what you like or what you don't like. I mean, I've had my phases of things that I've done to get to where I'm at. And even where I'm at, that might phase, I might transform it into something else later. That's the beauty of being a creative and being in a creative field, is that you can always transform what it is that you're doing when it comes to providing a service. Just so long as you have the background knowledge of what you're doing, you understand how to bring in clients and how to keep them and how to have them want what you do. Going back to figuring out what brings you the most joy without doing the most work. For example, me, after doing so many 10-hour transformations, I feel like that was something I was big on doing, like, was it last year or the year before? Like, again, I've always done color. I've always loved doing color, but I feel like I did like a shit ton of all day transformations. Like, I think it was last year. It was like the year before going into last year. And I mean, I'm talking like, I think like I'd be 10 hours, man. 10 hours doing somebody's hair. And that's not because I'm like a slowpoke either. Okay. I am like, I don't move like Speedy Gonzalez or nothing like that, but some things that people are wanting take that expertise that is going to take that long. And that's just it, right? I mean, especially like I was doing it without an assistant sometimes too. So just keeping that in mind, like me doing that, I thought to myself, like, oh, I love this. Like, this is so satisfying to know that, like, I kind of beat the odds of what someone thinks that their hair can do, or what is, someone comes in with like the worst color hair, it's all funky different colors, and then I made it like this beautiful blonde, balanced look, and it's so satisfying, and then the client is happy, but I'm like, I'm 10 hours worth of labor like that really messes you up. Okay, like our bodies are just not made to do that. I'm getting older. I'm not old. I know I'm not old, but I am getting older. So it just, things don't feel the same, and I'm just like, I can't do that all the time. So although, like, I'm not saying I'll never do that, but I'm not like advertising for it that much anymore. I'm trying to do things again that I can not work so hard with. And that's where like curly hair, specializing in curly hair and hair care in general, that's where I realized I fell into, because it's more of giving information to people than the labor. I mean, sometimes it's very labor intensive. If I have a client with a ton of hair today, I had a 10-year-old girl with a ton of hair. And I have a few clients where it's just, I'm talking to, like, it took me like 3 to 4 hours to wash, condition, do a wash and go, basically styling products, dry, and cut her hair. Like, she has so much hair, and those are very labor intensive, but again, not everyone is like that. So I feel like I am getting what I want out of it, and they get what they want out of it as well. This is a big one. Strengthening your consultations with your clients. This is me trying to get information out of a person. And if I'm not getting enough information, then I'm going to keep asking you questions. I mean, call it an interrogation if you want to. If someone is coming in and they want something, they have a vision in their head of what they want their hair to look like, I have to match that vision. Or I have to figure out if that vision is even realistic. All of these things, I have to get that vision out of their head so that I can understand what to do with it. The consultation part was actually the part that like made me the most nervous, I guess, because it was like that one-on-one intimate like moment where I'm like, you're just meeting someone. It's a stranger essentially, and you're trying to understand them. And so sometimes it's like I would try to, I guess, rush through it so I can hurry up and just get to be able to be behind them and then be in my zone. When you sit there and you make people think, it makes them think about what they want even further. And so asking them the questions back, like, okay, so you said you wanted your hair to be ashy, but the picture that you're showing me is not of an ashy tone. It's like a honey blonde. Keep in mind, this is not the same thing. So what is it about ash that makes you want ash? And what is it about this picture that you think is visually appealing to you? Like, really getting into their head. You're going to get clients that try you, but if you trace all of your steps prior to and repeat things back to them and just make sure they're clear, it's less of a chance that they'll try you in the end. There's always going to be somebody that slips in there, but it's less of a chance for that to happen. Here's another one. This is for the beginners. Please don't start charging the highest price out the gate. You don't want to sell yourself short, for sure. People are paying for the expertise and the experience. Meaning, for example, if I am coloring someone's hair and something goes wrong, like the color doesn't deposit the way that I need it to, or the undertone of something is off, or something goes wrong, right? Because of my experience, I'll be able to fix it. Again, people are paying for experience. So it's like if you are a beginner and you're charging a high price, and you may be amazing at balayage, like maybe that was your shit in school, and then you give someone this balayage, but then you mess up on the toning process and you don't know how to fix it. So that's like a like technical thing, but also you may not have enough experience with consulting and speaking to clients to also be able to, like, for example, if I tone someone, or I always use toner because that's where things just be happening. Like that's where things, I don't know. But say, I see that the toner didn't take very well, and I'm already have her at the chair blow drying her hair, and I'm looking at the blow dryer and I'm like, I want to tone this again, like, or I'm going to see what she thinks about it, but I feel like it's off. So what I do is, like, I'll turn around and I'll say, "Hey, I noticed this A, B, and C." And so I actually bring it to their attention, because it's just almost better that way sometimes. Because what happens is people may think that it looks good while they're at the chair, and then they go home and they notice the things that you already noticed, and they'll be like, like they'll feel iffy about it or whatever. But when you mention it, then you take control of the situation, and they almost trust and respect you more. And and I only say that to say that could come with experience. When you're first out the gate, you're going to be afraid to speak up about stuff like that. You're going to be like, "Oh my God, I fucked up her hair. She's going to hate me." For me at this point, it's like I know that I am skilled in what I do, but I'm human and things happen. So me saying that, like, I messed up isn't gonna, like, mess up my ego, if that makes any sense, or mess up my confidence. I'll say my confidence, because when you're starting off, you may just not have that confidence yet. So me pointing out what may have gone wrong, again, makes me still seem like the expert, that I can recognize when something didn't go right. Here's another good one, and this is important. So figure out, how do you want to spend your time? If you want to work 5 days a week versus 3 days a week, most people will pick 5 days because they're thinking like, okay, well, I want to pick the most days I'm going to be there to make the most money. But some of us may realize that working less days and then stacking your book, you actually end up making more money. And okay, maybe you lose a client here or two, right? But people learn how to get on your book when you're open, if that makes sense. So it happens all the time. Like, I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna open like all these days on my book. Like, maybe I have some extra time. I usually take 3 days off a week, but maybe I'm feeling like, I don't have this much to do on my days off this week. So the next week I'll open up an extra day. And you might find that, like, all these people booked on those certain days, and then, like, the more days you have open, it's like the more spaces you have, basically. So when you really calculate it, it's like, am I really making more money? And sometimes you do, like, you just have to literally always evaluate and, like, weigh it out. But if you want to work less days, don't think to yourself that you can't. Like, you have to work, you know, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week to make all your money. Like, okay, yeah, you're going to make a lot of money. All right. Like, you will, but you're going to be burnt out. You're not going to have the energy to do anything else but work. And then, I mean, even at work, you're not going to be, like, on top of your shit all the time working that type of schedule. So I always tell people, like, do not feel like you're wrong or you're guilty or you're lazy for making your days open, like, smaller. so long as you're being strategic, you're bringing the people in, and like you're stacking your book so that your time is being utilized. And for me, it's like, that's what I realized. I do not work every single weekend. And I mean, granted, like I could make more money, right? But I just come to realize, like, as a parent, and again, for me, I always have to bring up like being a single parent. I won't have enough energy to do A, B, and C with my kids if I'm working every weekend. And also just like they want to go do fun stuff too, and I want to go do fun stuff with them. So some people are like, oh, none of your Saturdays open. It's like, I do have some Saturdays open, and I do have some Sundays open, but you have to get on my book early enough to see that. When I tell them that, they're like, oh, okay. You know, they'll come and they'll work according to my schedule. And that's just what works for me. Like, that has to work for me, because that my time off and my time that I have to recharge, on my days off, and then also the days with my kids, that is priority to me. That is my first priority. Work is a priority, obviously, because that's what you have to do to make money. But my time is right up there too. So don't ever think that you can't do that. And I'm not even going to say that you can't do both, because yes, you are sacrificing something. But if that is what's going to be better for your well-being, then that is just what it is. If you can find you a good financial or business coach, that will make you go far. That will make you go a lot further in life. Again, I mean, that's something that I need that right now. I need me a financial coach right now. But, it's neither here nor there. I'm just giving y'all advice, all right? but yes, writing all these things down, and again, thinking about your goals, like, what do you want to get out of this? I was just speaking to a financial coach earlier, not because she's my coach, but I actually interviewed her as a guest. And she said, instead of thinking in terms of like your weekly goals, how much money do you want to make by the end of this year? Like, once you kind of work, she said, working in the future and then working backward. So if you tell yourself you want to make, I'm just going to throw a number out there, 120K at the end of the year, that's how much you want to make in profit. What do you need to do each month to bring in that to get you to that goal? And once you start thinking like that, you'll start putting into action things that will get you there. And I thought that was a gem for sure. And that, got me thinking. Absolutely. Because again, I have my phases where I'm like, okay, I'm on my shit on this and that. And then there's times where it's kind of just like I haven't kept track of things that well. So, just a reminder to center yourself and start when we think of like goal writing and like what we want for ourselves, we just like, oh, just make a list. And like the list just is a list. We don't do anything with it. So that's why you have to put real scenarios and real numbers together so that you can start going into action and of how you're going to achieve that. I feel like that was a lot of information. But I hope that information was useful and helpful. I mean, I know it's useful because that's some of those things I literally had to do and learn on my own. But I hope you guys, hope it's not too overwhelming. Again, those were just a few. There's many things you need to look into if you're opening a business. But if you are, best of luck to you. If you already have a business and you're just trying to get some tips and pointers and polish up your stuff, just keep going and speak to the right people. Like, don't keep doing the same things over and over that aren't working. Figure out how to market yourself. Figure out what it is that you're good at, what it is that you're passionate about, and what brings people to you. And that's what I had to realize. Like, although I do love color, I started cosmetology because of my love for like wanting to color hair. I have fallen into this niche of doing curly hair care, and especially like young girls curly hair care, and that doesn't really coincide with getting chemical processes done. So although it's like I don't do color as much as I want to, I've leaned into what people want from me because that is what I feel like I'm good at. And that is a niche that like people, that's what's going to make me my profit at the end of the day. Like, I enjoy it, of course. I'm passionate about it. That is huge. You have to be those, but it's also profitable because it's something that people need. So you have to create something that people need or want, however that looks to you. And, you know, that's how we got to think of things, you know? So I hope everybody enjoyed this episode. I wish I had like a recommendation for you. That's all I got. So y'all, please be kind to each other, and I will see you guys next week. Let's stay connected. You can find me on Instagram at imbalancedwithcat or on my website imbalancedpod.com. Give me a follow or a podcast review, and I'd love to share it on air. Thanks again for listening. Hope you enjoyed this show.